Hello and welcome to The Season That Was, brought to you by AAMI. I'm Riley Beveridge. This is Kane Cornes. And Kane, we are looking at Port Adelaide's 2024 season today. We'll start with the positives. And when they got things going under Ken Hinkley this year, it was the pressure that was immense for the Power.
Yeah, this is the way they played their best footy, and we saw that in that final against Hawthorn, which we'll get to. But you look at their pressure rating, they're second there behind only the Giants. So, I mean, it is a brand of footy that stands up. And when they were at their best and when they came from behind in that game against Hawthorn, and you'll see it here in the big games when they were able to bring that, and in particular this one, then they were a pretty hard side to play against.
That was that massive 100-odd point victory over the Swans, which was absolutely fantastic from Port Adelaide. The problems for the club, though, is clearly not being able to progress to the big dance, and it's been a problem throughout Ken Hinkley's tenure. We can see here their finals appearances under Ken. They've made 6 finals, but they've never got past the prelim. Is that a massive issue for them, do you think?
Yeah, it's a big issue, isn't it? I mean, you'd rather be up the top end in the top 4 and playing off in finals most years and down the bottom of the ladder, but the fact that they haven't been able to jump that giant hurdle despite losing by a kick in 2014 and a kick in 2020, there's been some good opportunities, but you saw against Sydney, their list is not good enough. So the biggest problem for me is not any of the coaching or the record. It's when you have your depth tested. Clearly, Port Adelaide were found out in the biggest way. So when you lose your 3 or your 2 prime movers across half back, when you lose some key position depth in Finlayson and Marshall, and Soldo goes down throughout the year, Pepper's out with the knee, then that exposes a lack of depth on your list. So that's the big area that they need to strengthen in this trade period, like they tried to do last year. Whether they were the right players or not to bring in, you can debate that. But their list is too weak.
And it could be a massive trade period for them. They're in the mix for a whole heap of players. Their best moment of the season clearly came in September, though. It was that semi-final victory over Hawthorn. So much pressure on Ken Hinkley in the lead up to this match. And they got the job done. They did what was required of them.
Yeah, they didn't really have a right to win because of the reason I just said. I mean, there's probably 5 or 6 players that really probably would struggle to be on the list of most of the good sides, but they played and they were able to play their role. They lost Todd Marshall in this game, and you can see the relief after getting smashed against Geelong in that qualifying final. So this was definitely their best moment of the season. Did it account for much? Not really, when they weren't able to sustain that and were picked apart by Sydney in the prelim.
Their season star, Jason Horne-Francis, averaged 21.8 disposals across the campaign, but it was his ability for of centre to really impact, which was the standout. Kicked 27 goals this year, Kane.
It's amazing, yeah. Value for touch, so he's everything you want from your prime midfielder. Like not high disposals. That will continue to increase the longer his tank grows and another pre-season under his belt. But not many players in the league that can do that and then have the composure to deliver the football the way that he does. So 21 years of age, one of the most exciting prospects in the game. Just the balance, and the question for Port Adelaide is how much forward, how much midfield. It's a good problem to have. But if there's one area that they'll be pretty confident in, it's their midfield group going forward next year again.
Finished second on the ladder this season, did Port Adelaide, knocked out in the preliminary final stages once again. What do you give them as a grade?
Yeah, probably an A-. I think they overachieved with where we all saw them at the start of the year. I mean, not many had them finishing second in the home and away season and progressing through to a prelim final. So I think with the list that they had, the injuries that they had, an A- is a pretty fair grading for a season where they ended up finishing in the top 4.
Stick around on afl.com.au. We are wrapping up every club's 2024 season in the season that was.